Hi everybody, I'm Bree the Plant Lady, checking in with a cottage garden seedling ID video. So here under the taxodium, I'm super pleased to show you that the seedlings have germinated and are growing really well. This is a brand new bed that was planted on the last day of December 31st. It was planted with poppies primarily on this side and larkspur and nigella up there. And, basically have been building this bed for about a year and a half, not putting anything in it, and then did the seeding as sort of a temporary installation because long term, at least in theory, I'm planning for this to be a big native perennial bed. But let me go ahead and turn the camera around so that you can see up close and personal. Hopefully this will be a useful video so that when you go out into your garden, you can really understand exactly what you're looking at. Okay, this is so awesome. This is the kind of ground plane coverage that I'm always aiming for. So let's go ahead and get down. And okay, first of all, this is a perennial that I planted. This is an echinacea coming up. Good to see that some of the perennials are still alive. Next to that here is a poppy. Actually, all of these are poppies. And there are some larkspur coming up in here. I don't remember planting larkspur in here, but that is larkspur. You see the dissected leaves. Larkspur, all of this is larkspur. All of these are poppies. You can see the poppies actually have some guttation right now, which is when they have these little bits of water along their edge that's actually from respiring and relative humidity. So again, these are all poppies. No, I am not thinning them. I'm gonna let them fight it out, figure out who wants to be the dominant one in here. I'm not gonna take control of that. Now here are more poppies. These are the corn poppy. You see how they are more finely dissected, the foliage, versus this, which is the breadseed poppy, which is a fatter, thicker leaf. So the breadseed poppy, these get much taller, whereas the corn poppy, I'd say the breadseed poppy is probably going to be 3 foot tall. This is probably going to be 15 to 18 inches tall. And then we also have California poppy right here, which is pretty distinctly different. You can see it's got more silvery foliage, really finely dissected leaves, and of course surrounded by corn poppies and breadseed poppies. Now up here in the morning sun half of the bed where I planted a whole bunch of native ferns, I overseeded predominantly with larkspur, and it is growing absolutely fantastic. Really pleased. This is gonna be so beautiful. And I'm hoping by the end of the week I have the link for the Fuquay Garden Tour, which you do need to buy tickets for, which is May 17th and 18th. But these should all be in full bloom for that. It's really the whole premise of my spring garden is based off of blooming for that moment, because I will be gone for a month leading up to it. So I'm so relieved to see this kind of great germination. And of course, larkspur are just such a dynamic plant to have in your spring borders. All right, this greenhouse bed was done during our first seeding class on January 18th. And though we've got good coverage, it's not as dense as I would like, but I'm not gonna do anything at this stage with it. I'm just gonna let it keep growing out. Thinking about fertilizing because we have a pretty mild forecast and these beds are brand new. They don't have a lot of organic matter in them. So a little organic fertilizer is certainly not gonna hurt. So you see what we have in here. We've got Lauren's Grape Poppy, which is a breadseed poppy, larkspur, crimson clover, buckwheat, and nigella. I think that it got too cold for the buckwheat, which germinated really fast, and I think it all died down, which is fine. I knew better than to sow buckwheat in January and did it anyway. So what we've got here, this is the crimson clover. And crimson clover is really great because it's a nitrogen fixing legume, but it can be relatively persistent. So if you don't want it to self-sow, you need to either pull it out or cut it down when it's still in flower before those flowers go to seed. I've had a lot of questions about that. I'm a no-till grower, so I don't have any intention of like ripping anything out. My maintenance plan for this will be to take my battery operated still lawnmower and just scalp it all down so then I can replant for the summer season. Now, what do I have planted here? I'm pretty certain this is nigella because we did nigella all along the edge because that is the shortest thing. Now, I also compulsively tossed in some leftover broccoli seeds, and that is what is growing here. Again, I don't see any of the buckwheat, which I could throw down some buckwheat now. I think it's warm enough and it would be reliable. But I think all the buckwheat that germinated early got frosted because we have had some cold weather. All right, so back in here, again, I'm not thrilled that there is so much open space. That's not ideal, but I am glad to see germination there in the middle, and I believe that's all larkspur. And then all of that back there is the Lauren's Grape Poppy. Maybe mixed in with some larkspur, or yeah, with some larkspur as well. Because I'm seeing, this is hard to walk to. I'm seeing some germination of seeds that don't look like poppies. And I bet that those more round ones that are just in the cotyledon stage, those are larkspur. All right, so the small bed here at the greenhouse, which was done on January 19th, better ground plane coverage, still not completely ideal, but that's okay. We've got a lot of things growing in here. We've got lots of poppies. That's what all of these are poppies. And you see the larkspurs are just starting to put out their real leaves. You see, that's the real leaf there, and that's how you can tell that it's larkspur. But most of this bed is gonna be poppies, which is fine by me. I really do like the combination of the two because the purple, blue flowers from the larkspur are a nice contrast to all of the rainbow colors of the poppies. All right, so we did this bed on February 1st during another class. We didn't do any bed prep at all. All we did is layer the veggie mix on top of existing mulch and seeded directly in it. And as a result, I've got some weeding to do. So this is native Veronica, and it's not that it's that terrible of a plant. It flowers and then sets a million seeds. And of course, next to that is chickweed, which I'll never not have, but I do want to go ahead and pull that out. I've also got a big patch of native violets here, which I'm not offended by. I'm going to allow those to continue to grow. And then all these littles are poppies. And I know they're close together, but I don't care. I'm not thinning them. They can fight it out. This is a better approach. When you thin, you actually allow for sometimes too much space between the plants, and then if you get a thunderstorm in the spring, which we do in North Carolina, they all flop over. So resist the urge to garden hard. Now we also did nigella in here along the edge, and that is what is germinating here. And then I have the plant that I hate the most in this world, which is this right here. I call it the Velcro weed. And it gets caught in Sophia and Reggie's fur and causes giant dreadlocks to form. And see, I've got a furry right here with me. So I need to go ahead and really take care of that. Not only does it cause trouble for the cats, but it's super seedy and it'll absolutely smother out a bed. So it's really not desirable. That is that plant right there. All right, so this fence line bed was done the earliest. This was done on December 5th. And I haven't done a very good job of properly defining the new edge. I'm gonna just do that with mulch, hopefully. But I am pleased to show you there's good and bad in here, you know. There's a little bit of both. But this was done by the awesome homeschoolers. So I think it's extra special because it was done by the next generation. They were really excited. They are, you know, visiting with regularity, so they get to actually see updates on what they've done. So let's just start out here at the edge where, again, remember I've extended the edge here because of the water line and electric line that was run last summer, and just decided to go ahead and, instead of trying to completely fill in the trench, just extend the bed all the way across. What I really just need to do is come with the steel edge definer and then mulch the edge, and everything will start to make sense again. But we did a mix of cottage garden seeds, so lots of California poppies. That's what these are. And this, I believe, is kale right here. We've got lettuce. We've got mustard. Got more lettuce, different variety of lettuce right here. I'm showing you the good stuff first. There's a lot of bad stuff. Let's see, we've got garlics popping up. Lots of poppies. Oh goody. Yep, look at all those poppies. So that's very close. That's not ideal, but again, not gonna do anything. I'm gonna let them fight it out. The plants are better at figuring out their orientation than we are. We do have clumps of grains, which the cats have been nibbling, specifically that cat right there, Miss Ava Grace. You can see I have two companions out here in the garden right now. I think Reginald is inside sleeping. And okay, so let's get into the bad stuff, because there's a lot of it. Vetch. I mean, I'll never really get rid of the vetch, and obviously pulling it like that isn't a successful approach. If you have vetch in your garden, try and get rid of it from the roots. Got a lot of lamium. This is actually relatively easy to pull out. I think that is that henbit. I'll put the proper names. I only know the botanical names of stuff, so when I put a common name up, it's because I've looked it up on Google. The number one weed in here, though, is this native geranium, and you know, it's pretty much everywhere. You see, it gets quite large. It's right here, and kind of widespreading. Just spews seeds everywhere. Not difficult to pull out. It's got a taproot. The reason I have so much of it is because this backyard, the lawn, is full of weeds, and therefore the beds will constantly get full of weeds. But you can see I've got a lot of that just throughout the entire bed. And I'd love to spend some quality time out here weeding. It's on my list, but I have a really busy schedule, so I don't know if I'll actually get it done. All right, so as we come over here, this was like one of the last beds to get done, and this was done on the 5th of February, so 2 months later than that border to the day. And big difference here between what we sowed, as you can see, is quite small. I believe that's all larkspur. Really won't be able to tell you that for sure. Yeah, it is. They're starting to put out real leaves, so you can't really tell when they're just in the cotyledon stage. But once you start seeing the real leaves, that is larkspur. Fantastic. But compare that to the self-sown larkspur, which are already really bulking up. Some are already starting to elongate and bolt, which is exceptionally early. But there's a big difference between self-sowing and seeding yourself. The thing with seeding yourself is you get it where you want it. And self-sowing just sort of haphazardly happens. Now, we did some big clumps of rye, which between cats and deer is getting eaten pretty well, pretty consistently. She's literally chomping on rye right now. This is her movie star moment. And then I'm so happy to see all of these poppies. It's always just such a relief. I want the beds to look good for the garden tour, knowing that I'm not here to do any bed prep at all. And I feel confident that these poppies are gonna do their job and wow everyone. So that's exciting. So this bed was predominantly self-seeded, but I did throw some seed in, but I wanna really be able to show you the difference between larkspur and nigella. So this is self-sown nigella. And you see, it tends to self-seed in kind of inconvenient places. I say this a lot in my presentations. See, I've got a self-sown poppy here. Here is this is another nigella, another poppy. See, a group of poppies. They love undisturbed soil and they grow really well bottle adjacent. I always get questions about the bottles, and the bottles actually are multifaceted purpose. One thing, we entertain a lot of wine gets consumed. This garden is 12 years old, so don't judge. They heat up, keep the they keep the soil temperature warmer, and they're actually just a really easy, non-permanent way to edge a bed and kind of raise it lightly since we have a high water table here. So getting into this bed, I am relieved to see, yes, some poppies are germinating that I sowed. Of course, here's geranium, here's morlamium. You know, and I weeded this bed pretty thoroughly before I sowed it, but there's always more weeds. Here is that Velcro weed, which is my arch nemesis, and it's really good to get it out when it's super small. There's more of it. You can see morlamium and lots of geranium. It's just an endless battle with this geranium. And here is larkspur. So this is a great example. Larkspur right here, rounded, very dissected leaf. Next to it, this is nigella. You see how elongated the leaves are on nigella. These are all self-sown. Ugh, there's more of that Velcro weed just waiting to cause dreadlocks in cat's fur. I see so much of it. I'm gonna have to come in here and do something about that. This is what it looks like as it gets more mature. It's starting to develop flowers, so really important to get it out as soon as possible, or you'll just keep perpetuating it. Well, everybody, I hope this Seedling ID video will be helpful for all of you. I'm certainly wishing you the very best in your cottage garden growing, and I do look forward to sharing more updates. I will plan to make a few more Seedling ID videos just to have in the playlist, and there are extensive videos from past years that cover this information really in depth when I had more time in my schedule. This year is just a little bit tricky for managing the time that I have at home versus the time that I'm traveling for work. But I do hope that they will all be helpful resources for you. And again, I look forward to sharing more updates. As always, thanks for watching and happy gardening.